All right, we're live. Everyone can hear us right now, but they can't see us. I'm just waiting for our live stream to connect to all the different websites for streaming. Once that happens, we'll be fully live.
Shipping. In fact, I see that they're connected. A second ago I was able to hear them, now I can't.
I don't know why. Can you hear now?
Ooh.
I don't know. Get the hardwire once the hardwire is.
I don't even know where they are.
All right, we'll wait for Mickey to get back there.
We're not usually the problem children.
And then we'll get going live.
I legitimately don't know where my beats are.
Till then, everyone can look at our "Will Be Live Soon" image and hear us talk in the background. Alex, maybe hit that mute until it's time to talk. So we can get this in. All right, let's go, guys. You ready? Hey. All right, we're live. We're here. Everyone should be able to see us now. Let me just double check the stream. Looks like we're good to go. Everyone can see us. They can hear us. Awesome. All right, guys. So thanks everyone for tuning into the live stream. Everybody else that checks it out after, please do us a favor and like and share it, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, Daily Motion, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're streaming on a bunch of sites. Wherever you're seeing it, please give us a share. Invite your friends. We're going to be doing this as often as we possibly can. We're going to be streaming our campaign, Cyberpunk Approaching Red. And let me get into that here. Let me explain exactly what this is. So, Cyberpunk 2020 has been around for a really long time, and the new version, the upcoming version of that game is called Red. It should be out in a couple months. They're waiting for the 2077 video game to come out so they can make sure that they match the world history and all the details and stuff. But Red is supposed to be happening after the 2020 campaign, after the fourth corporate war and the nuclear fallout causing everything to kind of have a red hue in the sky and such, hence the name Red. But what we're doing is, instead of waiting until Red comes out, we're going to start playing, and we're going to use the Red starter kit rules, and we're going to supplement 2020 rules anytime that, Red starter kit rules don't cover what we need to do. Otherwise, I'm just going to be creating rules on the spot. We've got some homebrew stuff. So yeah, we're just here to have fun and continue on with Cyberpunk role-playing in that Red sort of storyline. That's why it's called Approaching Red. Now, once Red comes out, depending on where our players are in this campaign, will determine if they actually make it after the nuclear fallout and after the fourth corporate war and make it into Red. And there's going to be a couple options I've kind of got in my head. Obviously, we're improvising a lot in the game, just like in all role-playing games, but I do have a couple ideas in my mind of different pathways that I could take the team, the group, so they could potentially get into Red when those core books come out. But obviously it's all up to them, however they choose to play this campaign approaching Red, and wherever they end up in their life path coming up to Red, that's going to determine what I'm able to do to get them into Red. Otherwise, they might just die in the fourth corporate war. They might die before then. Cyberpunk is way different than Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of other role-playing games. You can't, just take a potion or do some magic to bring you back to life. Once you're dead, you're dead. So that could happen. We definitely play real. We play raw. We play Cyberpunk the way it's supposed to be played, really dark and fucked up. And that being said, let me get into the way our game is, just so people know. It's definitely for an 18 and up crowd. There's going to be violence and gore, plenty of cuss words, debauchery, and more. And like I said, the characters might die, so it's definitely going to be a serious game. Not that we don't have fun and joke around, but just letting you know it's definitely adult themed. So everyone be ready for that. I'm Rob Mulligan. I'm the game master. I'm the GM. I'm an entrepreneur, a musician, a filmmaker, an author. You can check me out on social media and check out all the different things I've created and produced in those different genres and kind of see what I'm talking about. On most social media, you can find me as Mulligan101. You can also just look up Rob Mulligan. But yeah, check me out if you want to learn more about me. Otherwise, just enjoy the game. That's why we're here. So now that I've explained kind of what the game is, approaching Red, what we're doing, the game style, who I am, let's get into our players. Let's have this session 0. And session 0 is basically when you get together with your players. You get to meet each other if you haven't already. Have that little bit of socializing, and then get into the characters. Each player will get to describe their character and such, and then we kind of work out how they know each other, work together, some of the details of what this campaign is going to get into. And then that way, when we get into session 1 upcoming, we'll already have this foundation of how this world is for our players. So let's get into it. Let's see. Let's start here with I think I had you on mute there. Sorry about that. Alex, can you hear me? Let's see if we can hear you. Everybody was kind enough to mute so we wouldn't get any weird echoes and things. So let's get him back on the main frame here.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you are. Hey, it's Alex. So check it out, everybody. This is Alex. Alex, why don't you introduce yourself? Just tell us about you, what you're into, and who you are. And then explain who your character is, and please go into detail about the character. Read your whole life path, your connections, enemies, lovers, all that detail about your character, so we can all get a good idea of who she is.
All right, right on.
Who he is. I'm sorry, yours is the rocker boy, right?
Yeah. I don't get out much. Corona's nothing new to me. I'm just a engineering student for now. By trade, I'm an optician. I work on people's eyeglasses all day and night. But my character, I promise, is much more interesting. So he's going to be a 2077, 2020 rocker boy. And his main goal in life right now is absolute revolution. To bring the people together and raid these corporate data forces and take away all the leverage they've had over all of our lives for so long. Let's see. So, I went through the character creation process, which was pretty deep. I ended up rolling about 40 D10s to find out where his path went.
Oh yeah. Cyberpunk has a real deep life path process. I hope Red continues that, because definitely in the 2020 book there's a lot of detail, and if you get some of those supplement books, it even goes deeper and crazier, and we'll get into that too. Once Red comes out, from what I've read about Red, is that it is going to work with the 2020 campaigns and modules and stuff, so that'll be fun. We'll be able to bring in some of the Chromebooks and other things when we get there. But yeah, back to your character, back to what is it, Entered Zen, and he goes by Zen.
I mean, it's pretty much Entered Zen is his handle. People can call him Zen. I like to think that his bandmates and the super fans call him Big Z. Because
Nice.
fun fact about his handle is the two capital N's at the end of Zen. Those aren't actually N's. They're Z's that have been coded to swing sideways. Just a little fun fact.
That's fine.
But Zen's family, he grew up on the streets, never had parents. When they were alive, they were corporate manager types. Grew up in a decaying, once upscale neighborhood, and he's an only child, which is a little unfortunate because according to what I read in the books, like there's a big emphasis on family in this game. His motivations, he's moody, he's rash, he's headstrong. He doesn't really have a temper, but the number one thing about him is that he is moody. He can go from 1 to 100 and back in the blink of an eye. Value, like people-wise, I got no one when I rolled, but if I could choose a public figure, like somebody who inspired him to take up the mantle of revolution, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
The only other thing he values is having a good time. He has a valued possession, and it's a prismatic rainbow butterfly knife that used to belong to his ex-lover who has been imprisoned. She hates me, but I still like her. Let's see. Zen is 23 years old. His big wins and losses, he only got losses. He's got a false accusation. He's been hunted by the law, and he has an enormous financial debt. He's managed to make 2 friends, a female like a big sister, and a female who is an old enemy. And I've got names and backgrounds for them, but we can get into those when we meet them. He's got 1 enemy. It's a corporate executive. Just didn't like each other. They hate me. I'm okay and chill. I don't know what I did to him, but we'll find out. If we come into contact, we just avoid each other as best we can. We have to work together, so it's unavoidable, really. And he doesn't really have any kind of clout or power to throw at me. It's just himself. Thank God for that role. Already went over the romance. And then, because I didn't understand character creation, I had to go back and forth with you on that. I spent a lot of time coming up with his set list, which is about an hour long.
Oh.
That's what I've got.
Nice. Well, we'll try to, since you put time and effort into that set list, we'll try to work that in somehow, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think there was a couple, little stumbles with character creation because we did kind of make this a customized campaign. I had that PDF where it had kind of set rules and, perimeters to work within, and it might have been a little confusing. But once we got it, I think everybody's there now, and I think it'll be a great start, and we'll expand from there. But I think that's great. That's a great rocker boy. Definitely rebellious and fitting in the time, the dystopian dark future. So that's great. All right, cool. How would you describe the style of music? And what is he a vocalist, a guitar player? What kind of, describe the music and what he does?
He's mainly a vocalist. I'd say like screaming kind of metal. It's not music I'm into, but when I play characters in role-playing games, I like to be people who I'm actually not. It's a lot more fun, and I can do stuff that I normally wouldn't agree with, but it's more fun to experience those interactions and those consequences. But if I had to describe his style as an existing band, it would be unequivocally a band called Maximum the Hormone. You might have heard of them. No? Oh, fantastic. I'll drop you guys a link sometime to the perfect introduction.
Nice. Okay, cool. So definitely some brutal screaming and metal style vocalist is what we're getting from Big Z here.
Yeah, you got to get people pumped, get them out in the streets, throw Molotovs, my man.
Hell yeah. Perfect. All right, cool. Well, that was great. Let's go on. Let's hear from Sean. Sean, your character is Cynthia Lopez. She's a media. But first, let's get into you. Just fill us in on who you are and what you're into and all that good stuff, and then tell us about the character. And please go into depth. You wrote that badass life path description thing. I mean, a lot. I know Mickey and Heather, you guys did too. Definitely read that. Go into detail. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a dad. I do copy editing, but I'm not full time or anything like that. Mostly just trying to take care of the kids and stuff. They're at that age and need a lot of care. And I've been playing RPGs since 1978. So yeah, I'm really one of the old school ones. And Cyberpunk was definitely one of my favorite systems of them all. And for Cynthia, let's see. She grew up in Calgary, and her dad was an engineer working on the tar sands project. But at that point, it really wasn't doing very well. A lot of talk of shutting it down. Mom was a teacher at the local school. And Dad had a bit of Brazilian ancestry, and I'm probably about 3 or 4 generations back. But to celebrate that, the family practiced capoeira. And she started doing that when she was 10. A few years before that, she started doing dancing. They kind of go hand in hand. And she really liked both things. She's a real physical person. And her parents, she heard them drinking, or her dad was drinking a lot, and her parents were arguing a lot. This was towards the end of high school. And she was probably pretty happy then to get away and go off to university. She went to the University of Kentucky on a cheerleading scholarship. And she was made for that place for sure. She joined Omega Chi sorority, had tons of friends right off the bat. One of her best friends was Alexandra Svetlovsky, and they became best buds really quickly. And then she found herself a boyfriend on the football team. He was a fullback, Zeke McNeil. And they just seemed the perfect match. She's a cheerleader. He's a football player. And she joined the school station for broadcasting stuff. She was kind of interested, not super interested yet, but it was coming along. And she also joined the Pistol and Rifle Club, just to get some aggression out and stuff like that. She couldn't really find a capoeira society or club or anything like that, so she had to do that on her own. And mostly she just liked to do a lot of dancing. Didn't take school super seriously. And everything seemed to be going great until it wasn't. In her 3rd year, she caught Alexandra and Zeke in bed together. And she was pretty angry, but more vengeful than angry. And her reaction could be a little over the top. So the first thing she did was kind of convinced a younger guy to help her plant some performance-enhancing drugs in Zeke's football locker, then called in an anonymous report. So he was kicked off the team, lost his scholarship, and sent back to Idaho.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then, she kind of knew Alexandra, a bit of a hothead, and she knew she was going to come at her. So she was waiting for that too. So she had this same guy ready to videotape something, and kind of let her beat her up, even though she could easily kick her butt. And use that to try and get her expelled. It didn't quite work. The girl stayed in school somehow, but she was kicked out of the sorority. So that was something in her favor. And then in her final year at school, she was unable to reach her family for, well over a month, calling every week, not sure what's going on. And so she just flew home. And when she arrived, found the house completely empty. Parents gone, sister gone, clothes, furniture, the whole thing. Police looked into it, but they really found no leads. And to be honest, they were overworked anyway, so they didn't really solve anything. And they did rule it was foul play so that she could inherit what wealth there was, but there wasn't much. The bank accounts had been closed already, and there was nothing in them. And the house had a pretty big mortgage, so she only had about, $15,000, $20,000 left at the end of that. She's very well-spoken, attractive, great shape. She started off as an entertainment reporter for Rocker Boy Zine, even though she didn't have a journalism degree at the time. And probably didn't hurt that she slept with the hiring person to get the job. And but then she got kind of tired of that job, and she wanted something a little bit more serious. She wanted to be taken more seriously, and so she finally got an opportunity to get a job on Night City Beat because of a mentor from university. And she likes to use her looks to disarm and to charm and get her way with people. And when that doesn't work, sometimes she likes to give a good kick in the head. She's a pretty unethical person, and she's more than willing to kill a story if the people the story's about are willing to pay her money to do that. And that's Cynthia.
Nice. I love it. That's a great media character there.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Let's introduce Mickey.
Hey, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So yeah,
Cool.
Mickey, just tell us about you, and then tell us about One Up, your solo.
Yeah. So I am Mickey Woodall. I'm an actor, podcaster, soon-to-be teacher, given, the Rona lets up.
Yeah.
So my solo, his name's One Up. And as his name very clearly entails, he is all about gaming. He actually grew up on the streets in Central City. It was in a more protected corp-esque suburban area, so he wasn't like in the middle of the war zone, like trying to grow up. But it's because his parents died when he was real young, and it actually left him and his siblings out on the street. His two older brothers helped look out for them, and they worked jobs here and there as best they could, and got some loose change left, right, and center as much as they could. But you can only do so much, because while the Central City offers protection, it also offers high price rates. So One Up went about trying to find ways to help when he finally hit about 14, 15, and he found that if he did like some basic street rat stuff, stealing some stuff here and there, or helping out some of the local booster gangs to pull off some crimes and stuff like that, he could at least bring a little bit extra scratch to the table, maybe some food if he was able to get some from a store, things like that. At about 16 or so, he was really pushing this whole lifestyle and finding it was really affording him quite a bit. So then he got hit up by one of the booster gangs that he's worked with before, and they're like, hey, look, man, we got a whole thing set up. We found this place. It's an electronics store. They clearly got some money coming in based off of the gear that they're pushing. I bet that if you came in and you distracted the guy, we could clear the place out. So One Up agreed. He went with them. And he was sitting there. He's talking to the guy. He's distracting him. And the guy starts talking to him all about gaming PCs. And gears start turning. And One Up, he's like, yeah, man, this actually sounds really cool. But just before he could get handed a controller to demo his first game ever, because growing up poor, he didn't get to play that stuff, one of the booster gang came up and just rocked the guy in the back of the skull, dropping him. But he grabbed a hold of One Up, and One Up had to try and think quick as the guy raised a mono edge and brought it down, so he dodged to the side, lost his arm for it, but he was able to take the guy out using the cable on the controller. He took what was in the till, he took a gaming PC, and his life was changed ever forward. Now, he couldn't bring the cops down on his family because, they're going to be sitting there looking like they're aiding and abetting. He couldn't have that, so he split out on his own. And he started trying to make his way both as a solo and as a gamer. And, time kind of pushed on. He was really getting the craft down and everything. He was starting to make a bit of a name for himself on the streaming scene. And that's when he came up with a brilliant idea. At least to him. He was going to stream his solo gigs and treat it as if it was a live action video game.
Perfect.
And so he starts pushing and he's getting a cult following and people are really getting in there. And he really, for a hot second, thinks he's about to make it. And that's when his little sister, who idolized him, the only one of his siblings that he was actually close with, wanted to follow in her big brother's footsteps and started her very first live stream doing live action video gaming. But it ended tragically as the gang that she was going to try and sneak up on, their leader comes up out of nowhere behind her, cracks her in the back of the head, and we get to see her murder live on stream. But the only evidence that's there is up in the top corner of the screen. Just about this much of the mask of the man that killed her was visible. Not enough to convict him or get a hit out on him, But one up from doing his time as a solo knew exactly who that was. He just needs to get the evidence.
Nice.
And that's where we are now.
That's awesome. That's great. Hell yeah. Yeah, I love the life path stuff in Cyberpunk because there's so much great stuff that we can intertwine into the campaigns and games and like, you know, the NPC stuff. Like that was great. All right, let's see.
Thanks.
Okay, so Heather, we're up to you.
Hey guys.
So Heather can
you hear me?
explain. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, so it'd be great if
Awesome.
you just, like everybody else, just say who you are and what you're into and do or whatever, and then tell us about your character Stitch, the Medi.
Yeah, so I'm Heather. I've been playing tabletop since I think about
I think her
2014.
video is frozen and her
No, I
audio
see
is
it.
cut. Oh, okay.
That's just you. I've been doing tabletop since about like 2014. Played Pathfinder, D&D, viewed it for an edition. I got to play Cyberpunk before with Rob, and that was sort of my introduction to it, so it was pretty cool. I also do live action roleplay, which is like my favorite thing. So as soon as we're all allowed to go back out and do that, that's probably what I'm going to be doing with a lot of my time. But so my character, Stitch, as she would be preferring to be called, as opposed to Harriet, because if you call her Harry or Harriet, you're probably going to be on her bad side. She is a med techie, but she pretty much tries to cover a lot of the tech-based skills. She's used to being surrounded by people that aren't too savvy with tech, so she sort of made a name for herself with her crew with that. She actually only really got started in it when she was about 15, because before that, she was an only child to two corporates, and they expected her to be, you know, pretty well educated, pretty like very good girl, kind of just keep your nose out of trouble. But she actually made some friends who, in the end, helped her out a lot. They were pirates. And when she was 15, her parents actually disappeared and left a note for her. She didn't even finish reading it because she was so pissed off, obviously, that her parents felt the need to leave her there. What she didn't read was that, you know, they were actually getting into some trouble with their peers and led to some unfavorable circumstances that they felt the need to protect her from, which is why they left. But she was so pissed off that she didn't want to know why they left her. So she instead met up with her pirate friends and started making a name for herself there. And around like age 17, she's only 21, so I mean she hasn't had a lot of life experience, but you know, it started around like age 17. You know, she was hanging out with pirates. They were sort of working some deals with the local authorities actually, and helped bring down another local pirate crew named the Golden Navigators. And Stitch actually made a pretty good image of herself when she was able to help turn the tides of everything by oh, what was it? I have to look at my notes. Oh, she was able to basically break down their tech and tell the local authorities what they were using, which and you know made her look pretty good. So she actually has a connection there with local authorities at the DA's office, which comes in handy, especially when you're not really running the clean game.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong. It's because the local DA or authorities of that sector, I guess, hired the pirate gang that she was part of, right, to do a gig or whatever, and then she was able to
Exactly.
do that. Yeah, so that's why. Just so people watching weren't confused that you're working with pirates and then helping the authorities and getting props from the pirates for
Right.
that, because under normal circumstances that would be some fucked up shit. But obviously this is
Yeah.
the dark future. The cops are just as corrupt. You know, they're hiring the pirates to do a gig. You're stepping in, helping, so that's great. But go on. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to
Oh,
clarify
yeah,
that.
no, thank you for clarifying because I did miss that. Yeah, her pirate crew, by the way, is named the Painted Rovers, and the Golden Navigators weren't really too keen on them stepping in, but you know, when there's a rival pirate crew, you kind of gotta get them out of the way sometimes, and you know, get all their loot. And then other than that, you know, she didn't really do a whole lot. She did, however, help a local nomad pack that happened to be riding through, and they got into a bit of a skirmish actually, and one of their members, Stitch actually saved. She lost her arm and was bleeding out, and Stitch managed to convince the Rovers that they needed help and that, hey, it would benefit them in the long run. And she wasn't wrong, because it actually gained her favor with the Free Knights, the nomad pack that they had been helping. And
Nice.
little did she know that that was actually going to come in handy later, because she actually can get a few favors from them. And then, well, I mean, she's not exactly interested in romance. In fact, if you had to point her in any direction of romance, she'd probably fall flat. But surprisingly, she actually has had a tumultuous relationship with somebody from the Golden Navigators. The rival techie that she actually thwarted tried
Uh,
to attack her and kidnap her, and they ended up having a little bit of a relationship there. It's not, the most homely relationship. It's not all lovey-dovey. It's not great. It's not great.
hey,
I'll just leave it at
you were able to
that.
turn around a kidnapping situation, so that was cool. You turned
Exactly.
it.
She's pretty smart. She's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
smart. She knows how to get under somebody's skin. And that's probably going to bite her in the butt later on. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Free Knights, as she actually has a pretty good relationship with them. It turns out they rolled back up towards her territory, and she got to help deliver a baby for one of their members. And the baby's mother is actually the sister of the person that Stitch saved originally. And they told her that they see her as part of their family now, and she actually has gotten even closer with those people. And that's pretty much been her most recent year, because like I said, she doesn't have a whole lot of life experience. She's a baby. She's only 21.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, one question just before I forget it, because we're on that storyline, is did you do you already have in mind some type of reason? Obviously, Stitch didn't care or know why the parents took off. She knows that they were trying to protect her from something, but she was just
Mhm.
pissed that they left her. She didn't care. But do you have something in mind of a reason on that? Because you don't have it in there, or is that open game? I'll come up with something crazy for that or something.
I left it as open game. I usually
Okay.
like it when you sort of throw us some curveballs.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. All right, awesome. Well, that was great. I love everybody's character. This is a good little team. We've got a rocker boy, media, a solo, a med techie. We are gonna have, as you saw in the game page, we've got a couple other friends that have joined our game. This is our core team right here. And that is one thing that you guys should think about, not now, but in the future. Think about like a team or group name or something along those lines, and I'll explain in a minute why that's a little bit important. But there are going to be a couple other players that kind of chime in here and there, a couple friends that want to come in. They might join a mission or two or something along that line, maybe run an NPC or something. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that. But yeah, first let's work out how everybody knows each other, how all these players kind of intertwine. I know there's a couple missing parent sort of things going on with a couple of you, that maybe there's like a little, I can relate to that relationship sort of thing going on. There's also media that worked for Rocker Boy magazine. We've got a Rocker Boy. Maybe in the past, Cynthia did a piece on his crazy band doing all this rebellion, violent stuff. And since Cynthia is kind of known for, being rough around the edges, she was into that report or something. And maybe that's how you guys met, and then found out that you both kind of align with that, not scared to get immoral and make money or get the story or do what you have to do to progress sort of lifestyle. And maybe you guys connected on that and were able to say, hey, we should do some side gigs together sometime and pull some cash. I was also thinking for Cynthia, because I know what was the place that you worked for? Wasn't that it? Was that in there?
There was Night City Beat, I believe they call it.
Yeah. What I would like to do with that is you don't have a current gig there.
Okay.
What I would like to do is say that, your boss and them, they had to let you go because you are so rough around the edges, and maybe you pull some shady stories. Maybe you do some things that are illegal that the station doesn't want to be attached to, but they still like to get those fucking stories. So yeah, you're fired, but they still pay you for stories and things. When you come across something juicy, you can always hit them up, try to sell them some things here and there. It's not like that sort of shit is that powerful in Night City. Everyone's corrupt. Everyone knows everyone's corrupt. So it's not like, you know, everything's a big conspiracy or anything. Everything's a fucking conspiracy in Cyberpunk, so no one really gives a shit. It's kind of the norm. But you can still make some money off some of these little juicy bits of information and things that maybe you come across during some of these adventures and campaigns with the team. You know what I mean?
It's cool.
And that also kind of puts you in that position where it's like, you know, you have to, just like Rocker Boy, who's kind of a struggling musician, you know, maybe, you know, that puts you in, you guys got to do regular gigs on the side, you know, to supplement some income and stuff, because your chosen path of Rocker Boy or media isn't necessarily paying off full time, so to speak. You know what I mean? And then as far as One Up and Stitch, let's figure out how you guys know somebody else in the group, whether it's each other or one of the other two. And then we can tie it in. But when we do tie that in, one thing I was going to say is One Up, obviously being a solo, belongs to like a Merc board, we'll call it. And that's how you kind of get called for gigs. So you guys can always come across gigs as you're out and about. You'll be in the middle of a gig, and like Heather said, she loves when I throw twists on stories. They'll all, you know, there's always multi-levels and layers going on. So you'll be able to find gigs and do things and make money and have adventure. But kind of a solid go-to or whatever that you can tap into is this Merc board. And every once in a while, you'll get a call from a client that sees your ad on that board with other teams. And that's why it's important to have that team name too, because as you go, you're going to build this rep as, you know, One Up's team of whatever, you four, you know, and people might come and hit you up from that board to hire your team to go and do whatever. Not that it's your team, but you're the solo. They're seeing your post on that Merc board. But
so are we basically starting off as a team that's already been formed and working together?
Yeah, okay. Definitely, yeah. And then, so yeah, let's everybody heard One Up and Stitch's backgrounds. I'm open to ideas. Let's see how can one of you guys know somebody else in the team.
I mean, the Painted Rovers, I mean, they're an entire crew. It's totally possible that they also, you know, go to Merc boards and things like that and try and pick up some change there. So it's possible that we would have run into each other in that way as well.
Okay. That's a definite possibility there. Like maybe, maybe you were doing gigs with them, or, you know, picked up a job here and there. Maybe you were doing some type of big job in the back where whoever the employer was hired a couple teams to get different parts of that gig done. And, you know, maybe those details will come into play in a future campaign or something. But maybe it's something like that. And you guys did a big gig from the same board, met each other there, chatting about stuff. Maybe Stitch was like, holy shit, are you One Up? I think I've seen some of your games back in the day, or something like that, you know? Maybe you guys chatted about that and then got friendly. Was like, fuck, we should do some gigs together on the board or whatever, you know?
Yeah,
so maybe
I could see that.
So now how can we connect Cynthia and and Big Z with One Up and Stitch?
I've got a couple of ideas.
Yeah, let's everybody kick out an idea, and then let's see what we like.
So, I mean, if One Up is, you know, constantly trying to get his name out there, he's streaming and stuff like that, you'd think that he'd probably want to, you know, probably stream with some other bigger names. So maybe he was trying to stream with Z, and he was, you know, like trying to talk him into getting into one of his streams.
Maybe One Up likes Big Z's band. Maybe he likes the music, the intensity of it when he's on a mission, and he hit him up saying, hey man, can I get some royalty free, you know, I'll stream your shit during my game. Big Z was like, oh shit, I've seen your games, I love that, stream my music, in fact I can help you promote it, I'm friends with this media chick, she can maybe help promote your next stream as long as my song's in it. And that's how you guys all met, and then it was like, fuck man, we're all kind of cool together, let's do some gigs.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But with Z and Cynthia, like,
I'm down with that.
Since his whole thing is to get his message out, but secretly he's got like coded messages and code words and references in his lyrics, and I was actually considering getting him his own magazine. And Cynthia kind of provides that. And since they would be working so closely together and have to trust each other, trust her with this like code, this cipher to get the message out, I feel like Cynthia would be Z's like biggest ally. Like maybe they have a long relationship and have worked together closely a lot.
Yeah.
As for One Up, right off the bat, I was just going to say that Z is at heart a performer, and he probably caught your stream and just more than anything else was blown away by your presentation of your craft. You know what I'm saying? So, you were saying, Rob, that, maybe One Up is a fan of my music. I'm saying, Zen is a fan of One Up's stream.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be cool if it was vice versa. Both you guys, when he hit you up to stream the music, you were like, "Holy shit, you're hitting me! Like, I love your shit!" Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you guys, respected each other's crafts.
Yeah,
and as far as the magazine thing, I love that idea. But let's make that a kind of underground zine, like a little pamphlet-sized zine sort of thing, where you're kicking out this like anarchist cookbook vibe, sort of, hidden messages and this poetry stuff to the people. You put it out at concerts, maybe. When you go around doing these gigs, maybe you leave them around too. If you remember that would be kind of cool. That might earn you some extra IP and stuff if you remember to do that. But
and maybe electronic versions of.
What was that?
Maybe electronic versions of, not.
That'd be cool too.
Data chips, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't have any ideas about Stitch. I don't. But we're all Stitch is down together, so she can know everybody else, and we just crew up.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. If Stitch knows One Up. Just like when he hit you up, Big Z, and Big Z told One Up, shit, I'm a fan of you, use my music, blah, blah, blah. Then maybe that's how you brought up Cynthia, saying, in fact, I can get extra publicity here, and we should do gigs together. And One Up's like, yeah, in fact, I've been doing gigs with my friend Stitch. You got to meet her. She's cool. You know what I mean? Then you got
we all need techs for our jobs, all three of us.
What was that?
All three of us need techs for our job.
Oh, yeah.
Because I use a lot of technology for, like, surveillance and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Not just tech stuff, but med tech. You know how Cyberpunk is. I mean, you might be taking hits and need to at least get a few hit points back while you're so you don't die, or at least maintain.
Pocket healer.
What was that, Cynthia?
I said you can't shoot me. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
The new rule. Didn't you read that in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much built Zen in a way that he's not combat oriented at all. He's completely worthless in a fight, I bet. But he is, influential and charismatic. So I see him as someone who influences people to be not like his lackeys, but he inspires people to help him with his projects. But he's kind of useless on his own. He needs to pull skill sets from other people, especially tech, because honestly, like Zen's tech is 2.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and I think that was the other thing too. You brought up, he's not that battle strong or whatever, but at least a rocker boy does have a little bit of brawling. Not that you're building up so much of body or fighting with reflexes or dexterity or whatever, but that reminds me, everybody, when we get out of here, not only start thinking of a kind of team or group name for all of you guys, but also go into the damage here on Roll20, and the same place that you put your weapon, your handgun, and your melee weapon, go ahead and put in there, your punch and kick damage or whatever. If you have brawling or you have a martial art, just put that in there, because that'll save us time later. You can just click on it to do the damage, you know what I mean, when the time comes. So yeah, no, I think we've kind of locked in how the characters can know each other, and I think that can be a light connection anyways with how we described it. I think we got kind of in depth with that, which was kind of cool, but that can always be light, because we're moving forward from that, but I might bring in some of those little ideas that we talked about, who knows. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to go over, I know, Sean, you kind of used some of your money to pay for an apartment, and now you've got that monthly expense.
Yep.
I wanted to go over that with everybody. Where does everyone live, and do you guys see yourself with kind of a home base collectively, or staying with each other? Or let's go over that. And if you do have money and you don't have a place to live, you might want to think about that moving forward. By the time we have the first game or whatever, you will be making money as we go or whatever. But and then also the vehicles. I wanted to talk about that. But yeah, so let's start with Alex. How is Big Z living these days? Where's he at?
He's living as comfortably as he can. I was hoping we would get to talk about this, because I'm not sure how much money I would have to set aside. Just a cursory glance looked like it would be 1,500 a month for like an apartment cube, which I figure is reasonably fancy living, and with my uh, special career skill, I can make 1,500 a month. So I'd be basically breaking even on my rent.
Right. Well, yeah, one thing I like to do, and this way we don't have to stress about that aspect of it, but it'd be kind of cool if how whatever you guys are living, if it is that 1,500 cubicle or you have something lesser and then a home base that everyone can use or however you work that out, we'll say, you don't have that steady gig of, you're not a famous rocker boy to the level where it's like steady touring and gigs to pay, be rich. Just like Cynthia can sell some stories, but she's not doing that as a solid, 9 to 5. One Up isn't making enough gaming, and Stitch isn't working for a hospital full time. But you guys are doing enough of that side gig sort of shit to cover that baseline food and rent. That way, we're not worried about, in between games. Oh, Rob, hey, I want to spend a little money on my kibble or my whatever to get my player to the next gig or whatever. You know what I mean? We won't worry about that. When the Red core books come out, if they have some miraculous new rule or detail with it and they want it to be an active part of it or an option or there's an easy way to do that, we can do it. But for now, let's just say everyone, your side gig is at least enough to cover the base fucking food and rent. Nothing extravagant, but it's at least getting by. You get that little apartment cubicle or whatever. Unless you spent all your money, those starting funds, on cybernetics and gear and stuff, and you don't have that 1,500 to put in. Maybe you're in a situation right now where you're asking somebody to crash on their couch in between gigs, till you make a little bit more.
Well, I didn't spend hardly anything of my starting 10 grand so far because I wanted to get a feel for like the world and the other characters and like
Yeah.
what I can use and what's going to be useful.
Yeah. Then take 1,500 out of that if you want the apartment cubicle. Consider that, and then go back and look at some gear, cybernetics things from now until we have that session 1. If there's other things you want to spend the money on, by all means do it. Just let me know. Add it to the sheet. That's fine.
Well, what I'm thinking for the majority of that 10,000 is going to be equipment for a 3-man band, like drums, guitars, amps, monitors, mix board, lights, the whole 9 yards, plus 2 vans to carry everything from gig to gig.
Okay.
And I don't think like my character is rich per se. He doesn't have to be rich, but from all the different skills I have, like almost every one of my skills, it says that I can use that skill to make money. So I've got like 8 different skills to make money. So I might be the sugar daddy of the crew if everybody else is hurting.
Okay. Well, yeah, but don't forget too, like that gig. It's not like it's steady and enough. You're not making the full funds off of that. That's why you guys are having to do all this. You regularly have to do paid missions and gigs and things. And find ways to get money and do things like that because you're not necessarily making what that 2020 or red career description parameter of income or whatever that they give you there. You're not necessarily making that full amount. That's part of the reason why you guys are together doing these side gigs too. You know what I mean? So like,
I feel you.
So, but you do have enough starting funds. I started it with plenty that you can definitely get cybernetics gear. Probably put 1,500 towards a little apartment cubicle. You could even get a scooter or a motorcycle or something. But if not, like I said as well, you're gonna be making money starting. As you do these gigs and you do things, so it's not even that big of a stress. Don't worry about it. But since you do have a lot of money, go ahead, deduct 1,500. Get yourself at least an apartment cubicle. Think about a vehicle, other gear and stuff like that. Moving forward, at least before session 1. What about and like I know where Sean, I know where Cynthia is. Like I said, you did the apartment right away and stuff. What about One Up and Stitch? How are they living?
So One Up is spending some nights he crashes at his girlfriend's place, and then whatever nights he can't crash there, he's actually finding like bombed out van shells or abandoned apartments, and he's got his air mattress and his sleeping roll that he just kind of crashes out on. He grew up on the streets. That's what he knows. That's what he likes. When he can get a bed in a safe place, why not? But it's not a necessity for him.
Okay,
And
cool.
as far as food goes, like, got to keep one jump ahead of the bread line kind of stuff.
No, I like that. I like that because him being a solo too, it's not like he has that other fallback career like a Meteor or Rocker Boy does aside from doing gigs, these hired gigs or whatever from the Merc board. So it is a little bit different for him. But I like that, he's got the girlfriend, he can crash with her. She's cool with that. You're also good friends with everybody else in your team. I imagine everyone's cool with letting you crash on a couch if necessary. And I'm a fan of, and it's up to you guys obviously, but there will be opportunity if you guys want to get like some type of home base or some type of thing going, whether it's eventually when you can afford it or find the right situation outside of the city, a nice badass bunker, or you've got a hidden apartment situation or a little warehouse on the outskirts of the war zone or whatever, or a really nice sky-rise fucking apartment that's all security decked out, that's very incognito because you guys are doing gigs like you're going to be doing out of a place like that. But regardless, that might come into play too, who knows. But yeah, let's put you guys like that. So that's where 1UP is. What about Stitch?
Stitch is sort of all over the place. I mean, she's obviously with her pirate crew, but her pirate crew's kind of all over the place too. So she sort of just weasels in wherever she can, sleeps at the foot of the bed, sleeps on someone's couch, posts up in a hotel if she has to. As of right now, she'd like to settle at some point, but as of right now, she's just sort of wherever she can be at the moment.
Yeah. No, I like the fact, she's with the pirate crew and she's got like the nomad crew, like she's got these hookups or whatever. They're very family oriented, very, not that they're a gang, but very gang like with that family vibe, whether it be a pirate or nomad. So you definitely have those options. You can stay with them. I would say when you're in Night City, when you're doing these gigs with the Merc board, you kind of are hand in hand with 1UP. You don't have your own place, but it's not like the pirates or the nomad pack have a place for you in Night City. So you're kind of in 1UP situation where maybe you just pay for a little pod to crash in or a little cubicle, or you're asking Cynthia or Big Z to crash on a couch or something in their apartment. Or you make enough money to just do like a one-day rent, or after a couple gigs you might have enough, just get your own apartment in Night City, or you might be making enough on a few of these gigs. You'll be in like Neo Angeles, you have a place down there, a place in Night City. You'll be in Neo Tokyo. You'll have different places you can go and fuck with. So
yeah, exactly.
But I like that. That's great. Let me see the other thing from my notes. So things to remember: add that kicking, punching, damage stuff to the sheet. Don't forget, everyone start thinking of a group name or a team name if you want to get into that. Message or email each other. Just let me know if you do think of that. We can get into that in session 1 or something. But I would like you to think about that because that's kind of how the Merc board might work, and it might help like a team reputation as well, aside from individual. The other thing too is going from 2020 to Red. I'm sure people have noticed on the character sheet they've changed awareness/notice, and they've added perception. It's still under intelligence, but just for the sake that Red is definitely going to be coming out with perception instead of awareness/notice, go ahead and make sure that in your character sheet here under the journal tab, if you do have it listed as awareness/notice, just change that to say perception. I want to try to remember to say perception instead of the 2020 way because, moving forward, that's where it's going to be. I think that's it. Other than that, I just want to, I know Mickey, Heather, you two have played with me before. I like to mix up some good violence and gore. I put I try to incorporate different layers to the story and make it, a little deeper than just a action or whatever. Is there any gaming, other than me just being as diverse as I can within all the different aspects of gaming, is there any particular gaming style that you guys like or anybody wants to suggest other than that general diversity?
Nope.
Anybody?
I mean, I'm pretty cool with whatever you're ready to throw at us, but
Okay.
my main focus in tabletop RPGs is problem solving, getting creative, and just wrecking stuff, my man.
All right, cool. No, it sounds like we'll be on the same page, and as we go, if one thing I'm definitely cool with is as we go and we do games, I am going to be pulling, like I said, rules from Red, some from 2020. I'm just going to wing some stuff and make it up as we go and try to make things interesting and fair as I can as we go until the Red core books come out. If anyone has an idea, a problem, a suggestion within anything I'm running or certain things, whatever, just, hold your breath during the game, keep moving forward as we go, and then afterwards, go ahead and let me know, like, hey man, that, this rule here, I'm thinking we could do it like this and this would be more fair. Or, hey, when this happened, I was thinking like that. And like, that way as we're going, there's no hang-ups. We can just constantly have fun and move forward. But I am open to hear suggestions and ideas and all that good stuff, just so everybody knows.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it, guys. Anybody that's tuning into the live stream or watching this video and hung with us through to the end, we thank you so much. Please share the video wherever you're seeing it stream. Subscribe Mulligan Live on YouTube. That's where we're going to start really pushing our live stream. And yeah, well, hopefully we can be back, try to pull off some Wednesday evenings. We'll try to do it as much as we can. I don't know if it's going to be weekly or bi-monthly or just monthly, but we're going to communicate with each other and try to play as often as we can, do it,
Right on.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks.
All right, take care,
See
guys.
you guys later.
Later.